usually put ours out. I usually do
Nice evening.
Diane Cordell's, my mother's, and Roy's.
Oh, nice.
What? She went to go look for Woodruff and Rodriguez.
Oh. I know he's here.
Yeah.
Back there was Zach.
I hear him talking.
They're coming.
Oh, excuse me, Dan.
Squeeze right in, huh? About a quarter of an hour, Jim.
Gonna do a lot of talking.
Yes.
Just when I start saying, and I want favorable consideration for.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Seems to be a hold up here.
Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to the February 20th meeting of the February 20, 2018 meeting of the Whitehall City Council. For the purpose of considering such matters that may come before it, I'm going to call the meeting to order at this time. And I would like everyone to rise for a moment of silence, remain standing for the pledge, and we'll have a little extra moment of silence this evening for the 2 police officers in Westerville and all the victims at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck? Yes. Here.
Here.
Bailey?
Here.
Rodriguez?
Here.
Elmore?
Here.
Coniston?
Here.
Tanner? President Graham?
Present.
Mr. President, I'd like to move to excuse the absent member.
Second.
The motion by Mr. Bailey, second by Mr. Rodriguez to excuse the absent member. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck? Here. Morrison?
Here.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
The absent member has been excused. Our next item is the approval of minutes for February 6, 2018, agenda and regular meeting.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the February 6 minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Coniston, a second by Mr. Morrison for acceptance and approval of the February 6, 2018 meeting minutes. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
Minutes have been approved. It's our first opportunity for poll public. If anyone would like to come forward, at this time you will have up to 3 minutes. All right, we'll move on to our standing committee reports, and we'll begin with Administration and Financial Management. Chairperson Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Administration and Financial Management did meet last Tuesday, and our minutes are on file. We will meet again next Tuesday sometime after 6:30.
All righty, thank you. Community and Elder Advocacy. Chairperson Elmore.
Thank you, Mr. President. Community and Elder Advocacy met regarding Ordinance 15. It will be read today by title only, and we will meet again next week.
All right, thank you. That brings us to Community Standards and Enforcement. Chairperson Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Community Standards Enforcement met last week. Minutes are on file. We discussed the introduction of Ordinance 21, 2018 for the electric service reinstall fees. 22 for the modification of 1301, which is hand in hand with the 21. And then Ordinance 13, repealing Chapter 1333 and modifying 1127. And then Ordinance 14, 2018, amending the humane confinement and treatment of dogs. We'll meet again next Tuesday, sometime after 6:30.
All right, thank you, sir. Economic Development. Chairperson Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Economic Development also met last Tuesday. We had nothing on the agenda. Our minutes are on file. We'll meet next Tuesday in the back sometime after 6:30.
All right, thank you, sir. Infrastructure Maintenance and Services, Chairperson Hack.
Infrastructure Maintenance and Services met last Tuesday. We had nothing on the agenda. We will meet next week on Tuesday after 6:30 in the back.
All righty, thank you. Public Safety, Chairperson Coniston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Safety met last week. Our minutes are on file, and we'll meet again in the back sometime after 6:30 next week.
All right, thank you. Next we have Parks and Recreation. That's Chairperson Canner. He's unable to attend the meeting this evening due to some medical issues. That committee did meet last Tuesday. Their minutes are on file. They shall also meet again next Tuesday sometime after 6:30. Those are all the standing committee reports we have. We will now move on to our officials' reports, and we will begin with our mayor, Ms. Kim Maggard.
Good evening. I have no report this evening.
All righty, thank you. Next, we will hear from our city attorney, Mr. Michael Bivens.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. From the city attorney's office, I would like to report we currently have 30 individuals that are currently matriculating through our diversion program through our mayor's court. They are set to graduate potentially in the next 3 weeks. And so as they cycle out, I believe we've got about 40 that are on deck to potentially go in, but their court dates are coming up soon. Just a couple of dates from my office. Tomorrow, I've been invited by our school resource officer, Officer Showalter, to speak on a panel at Whitehall Yearling High School as it relates to youth violence. That event will occur at 1 p.m., I believe, to 3 p.m. in their auditorium, and the whole school will be out. It will be the whole freshman class, the sophomore class, and the junior class, and it will be a panel with schools, with psychologists, with doctors, with myself and other individuals that will speak to the youth as it relates to consequences for violence. That being said, I would also like to invite council as well as the public out to an event that will be hosted here in City Hall February the 26th with respect to the Youth Justice Circles. And let me explain, I explained it in our staff meeting this week what this is. Our Justice Circles were brought about through a collaboration of my office with Judge Gill and the Juvenile Probation Department to actually be a diversion effort for juveniles. And it's a really neat program in that it invites the community to actually be a part of the sentencing considerations for juvenile offenders in the 43213 area code. And what you don't know is with respect to juvenile offenses in Central Ohio, the 43213 zip code is unfortunately the highest zip code for juvenile offenders in Central Ohio. So if you come out, get some information as it relates to it. The event is at 6 p.m. It will tell you what your obligation is, what it's about. You're all welcome to attend. You don't have to be a Whitehall resident to be a part of the Justice Circles, but you just have to be someone that's interested in trying to stave off youth violence and stave off youth crime. And so you're all welcome to come out February the 26th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. And then lastly, my office has initiated with the Franklin County Restorative Justice program that is the administrator of the grant that we have regarding the opiate mayor's court to start something really neat. And I'm saying it now just in case you have any additional ideas, but the idea is essentially this: looking at crime and looking at violence as a public health epidemic, not something that we criminalize the poor, not something that we criminalize or otherize the mentally ill, but looking at the factors as it relates to crime and relates to violence as a health concern. And certainly with everything that we've seen in the national news and locally, it is everyone's problem. And until we approach it with that mindset, and until we approach it with the idea that these things can be tracked, monitored, and that we could actually ascribe CPT codes and ICD-9 codes as it relates to symptoms and diagnosis as it relates to that, then maybe we might actually start cracking the nut and doing something about it. Everyone knows, and everybody in this room knows how much I love Whitehall. I know I speak for everybody up here on how much you love this city too. We live in 5 square miles. We've got 19,000 residents, and there are things that we can do that we're especially situated to do because of the size of our city that can make a difference not only for our residents but also for people who travel and drive through. So I'm saying that in Whitehall, opportunities here. We're looking forward to it, but some of those opportunities are uncovered, and some of those opportunities are yet to be covered. And I invite each and every one of you to be a part of the uncovering so that we can look for solutions. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Next, we have our city attorney, Mr. Dan Miller.
All right, I got a promotion.
I'm sorry, our city auditor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I have no official report tonight other than what you have in front of you. I would like to have favorable consideration on ordinances 6 through 9, ordinances 18 through 20, and resolutions 12 and 13. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that. I didn't want to give you an unnecessary. I didn't realize you had completed law school. Actually, is the
Neither did I.
the deal. All right, let me see if I can get this one right. Our Director of Development and Public Service, Zach Woodruff, is up now.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
I went through all of that there, making sure I got your. All right. Well, then I'll.
Mr. President, if I may, just wanted to thank council for. I know you guys have all been supportive during the winter season. Hopefully, we don't have too much more snow to get through. But just to give you a little perspective, this winter we've gone through about 2,400 tons of salt. The past 2 years combined, we only used 2,600. And so we obviously have been hit with a lot more snow, and not even necessarily a lot of accumulation all at once, but just a lot of days where it was coming down and making it slick. So we have definitely gone through and had to purchase more salt. But that is all the report I have this evening, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. I'll just add a little something to that. You are absolutely right. We have had more snow this past winter, or this season, than we have in the prior 2 winter seasons, according to the weathermen on TV, which I'm assuming they got their information from the National Weather Service, or maybe even you. I'm not sure.
Jim Ganal and I
All right. Thank you, sir. Next, we have our treasurer, Mr. Steve Quinzel.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Mr. Bivens alluded a while ago, Whitehall is a city of opportunity. We had an opportunity last year to take our banking business elsewhere, and after pretty thorough review of the banks that responded to our RFP, we selected Heartland Bank. It's now been 6 months since we signed on the dotted line, and I took a look to see what our performance has been with Heartland. Our biggest problem that we had with Key was their fees got to be quite exorbitant, and their fees were eating into any interest income that we were getting from all of our other investments. So the first 6 months of not the first 6 months, but the last 6 months that we were with Key Bank, our average interest earned was $5,800 a month. The fees, however, that we were paying out was $1,143 a month. So we only had a net $46.61 per month. Since moving to Heartland Bank, our average interest earned is $11,825 a month. Our fees have dropped to $716 a month, with a net, leaving us a net of $11,110 a month. That's a 138% increase, which I wish my broker could get me. So I think we've done very well with the making that decision to take our banking business there. Additionally, today I made the first deposit in the new Whitehall branch.
Yay.
So they invited us to be a part of their soft opening, and Dan and I went over and met the folks and had our deposits made within the new building. Their grand opening is going to be March 20th at about 4:30. I'm sure there'll be more information coming around to everybody. But looking forward to having our business not only with a bank that performs this well for us, but is within the city boundaries.
All right, thank you. Great news. All right, well, the following officials' reports. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, he's got other big news
Oh,
too.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, last Friday I became a grandpa again.
Congratulations.
Sorry about that. All right, I didn't see how you were going to be able to top that, but you did, so. All right, so the following officials' reports have been filed in the council office since our last meeting. We have the mayor's report to council for January 2018, the Division of Fire overtime report for January 2018, the auditor's expense report for January 2018, the auditor's bank report for January 2018. We also have the auditor's statement of cash position report for January 2018, the auditor's revenue report for January 2018, and we also have received the treasurer's investment report for January 2018, as well as the treasurer's activity by fund report for January 2018, and not to forget the treasurer's fund reconciliation report for January 2018. Those are all the officials' reports we have received under communications, petitions, and claims. We do have one item listed on the agenda this evening. It is a notice from the Division of Liquor Control that a hearing has been scheduled for March 7, 2018 on the appeal for a renewal C12 permit for Hamilton and Maine Sunoco, 4600 East Broad Street. That's the only item we have on the agenda. It's time for our verification of copies. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll on whether each member of council was given a copy of each item of legislation listed on the agenda prior to the meeting and including any add-on legislation.
Beck? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
All righty. We will start with our ordinances and resolutions for the evening. We start with our third readings. We have ordinance 122, 2017. It's to amend the city income tax code to adopt sections 718.80 through 718.95 of the Ohio Revised Code and declaring an emergency. That ordinance has been tabled until we get some type of decision from the state of Ohio as to how that's going to be administered or implemented or something like that. So there's no point in passing something that we don't know how to necessarily structure. Okay, so we move on to ordinance 2, 2018. It's amending section 184.3 of the codified ordinances titled Definitions and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 2, 2018, and move to have it tabled for reasons you indicated with 122, 2017.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Mr. Rodriguez to table ordinance 2, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Beck? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
All right, ordinance 2, 2018 has been tabled. It's the last item of legislation we have under third reading. Under second reading, we have ordinance 6, 2018. It's unappropriating $600 from the Safe Parks Grant Expense Account and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, wish to introduce ordinance 6, 2018, move for suspension of rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Mr. Rodriguez for introduction and suspension of all rules on ordinance 6, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Beck? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on ordinance 6, 2018.
Move to adopt.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Mr. Rodriguez for adoption of ordinance 6, 2018. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
Ordinance 6, 2018 has been adopted. Our next ordinance is 7, 2018. It's unappropriating $2,947,648.67 from the Community Event Center account and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 7, 2018, move for suspension of all rules.
Second.
The motion by Mr. Bailey, a second by Mr. Morrison for introduction and suspension of all rules on ordinance 7, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on ordinance 7, 2018.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second.
Oops, sorry.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Bailey, second by Mr. Rodriguez for adoption of ordinance 7, 2018. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll. He said it first.
Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
Ordinance 7, 2018 has been adopted. Our next ordinance is 8, 2018. It's unappropriating $250 from the Hamilton Road Streetscape account and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 8, 2018, move for suspension of all rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Ms. Coniston for introduction and suspension of all rules of ordinance 8, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on ordinance 8, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Ms. Coniston for adoption of ordinance 8, 2018. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck? Yes.
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
Ordinance 8, 2018 has been adopted. That brings us to ordinance 9, 2018. It's unappropriating, can't find the number, $386,864.12 from the Etna Road Improvement account and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 9, 2018, move for suspension of all rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Ms. Heck for introduction and suspension of all rules on ordinance 9, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on ordinance 9, 2018.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bailey and second by Ms. Heck for adoption of ordinance 9, 2018. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck? Yes. Morrison?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Coniston?
Yes.
Ordinance 9, 2018 has been adopted. Our next ordinance is 10, 2018. It's approving and making a fund transfer in the amount of $445,720 from various accounts in the Wimpity Fund to the Debt Service Fund. That ordinance is being read by title only. They love making me read that over and over again. I hate that word. All right. Next, we have ordinance 11, 2018. It's transferring $450,745.10 from the bond retirement account to the debt service fund, and that's being read by title only also. Our next ordinance 13 is authorizing the repeal of chapter 1333 of the modification of chapter 1127. That ordinance is being read by title only. Our next ordinance is 14, 2018. It's amending 505.21, humane confinement and treatment of dogs, of the codified ordinances of the City of Whitehall. That's also being read by title only. Next, we have Ordinance 15, 2018. It's authorizing the creation of the DAPO Grant Fund, appropriating $100,000 from unappropriated monies in the DAPO Grant Fund to the DAPO Grant Expense Account and declaring an emergency. That's being read by title only. I don't like that one either. Next, we have Ordinance 18, 2018. It's unappropriating $272, wait a minute, that's the wrong amount. $12.49 from the Park Ranger Grant Expense Account and declaring an emergency. That's being read by title only. No, it's not.
No.
I take that back.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to make a motion on that, I'll take it. Well, you got to make the motion. Somebody.
Take it back. We'd like to make.
No, I'll take the motion.
I would like to introduce ordinance number 19, 2018, and move for the suspension of all rules. Is that okay?
18, 2018.
Oh, 18, 2018.
Second.
All right. I have a motion by Ms. Coniston and a second by Ms. Elmore for introduction and suspension of all rules on ordinance 18, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Elmore,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on ordinance 18, 2018.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Coniston, second by Ms. Elmore for adoption of ordinance 18, 2018. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Elmore,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Ordinance 18, 2018 has been adopted. It's the last item of legislation under second reading. We'll move on to our first reading items. We have ordinance 19, 2018. It's approving and making an appropriation in the amount of $421,000 from the Water Sewer Mandate Improvement Fund to the Erickson Avenue account and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 19, 2018. Move for suspension of rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Ms. Heck for introduction and suspension of rules on ordinance 19, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on ordinance 19, 2018.
I'll move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bailey, second by Ms. Heck for adoption of ordinance 19, 2018. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Ordinance 19, 2018 has been adopted. Next up, we have ordinance 20, 2018. It's authorizing the creation of the Clean Ohio Conservation Program Grant Fund and appropriating $734,000 from unappropriated monies in the Clean Ohio Conservation Grant Fund to the Clean Ohio Conservation Grant Expense Account and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 20, 2018. Move for suspension of rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Ms. Coniston for introduction and suspension of all rules on ordinance 20, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck, Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on ordinance 20, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to adopt.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Bailey, second by Ms. Coniston for adoption of ordinance 20, 2018. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Ordinance 20, 2018 has been adopted. Our next ordinance is 21, 2018. It's authorizing the addition of an additional fee for electrical service reinstallation That's being read by title only. Next, we have ordinance 22, 2018. It's authorizing modifications to chapter 1301, that's being read by title only also. It's the last ordinance we have. We do have several resolutions. We have resolution 11, 2018. It's appointing 5 electors of the city of Whitehall as members of the Charter Review Commission and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce Resolution 11, 2018, move for the suspension of all rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Rodriguez and a second by Ms. Coniston for introduction and suspension of all rules on Resolution 11, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on Resolution 11, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rodriguez, second by Ms. Coniston for adoption of Resolution 11, 2018. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Resolution 11, 2018 has been adopted. Our next resolution is 12, 2018. It's resolving to approve then and now certificates and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce Resolution 12, 2018, move for suspension of all rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Mr. Morrison for introduction and suspension of all rules on Resolution 12, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on Resolution 12, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bailey, second by Mr. Morrison for adoption of Resolution 12, 2018. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Resolution 12, 2018 has been adopted. Our next resolution is 13, 2018. It's authorizing the mayor to apply for and accept assistance from the Clean Ohio Conservation Program Fund administered through the Ohio Public Works Commission and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce Resolution number 13, 2018, and move for the suspension of all rules.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Coniston, a second by Ms. Elmore for introduction and suspension of all rules on Resolution 13, 2018. Questions or comments? Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended on Resolution 13, 2018.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Coniston, second by Ms. Elmore for adoption of Resolution 13, 2018. Ms. Frymark, please call the roll.
Heck.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Resolution 13, 2018 has been adopted. It's the last item we have this evening for legislation issues. We will now move to our second opportunity for poll public. If anyone would like to come forward, you will have up to 3 minutes to do so. All right, we'll move on to Community Date Board. Who would like to start?
On March 14th at 6:30 p.m., we'll be having the State of the City address at the new Washington headquarters, and at 5:30 we will be having refreshments with the mayor.
Say that again now.
Which part,
The
the whole thing?
whole thing, yeah.
Wednesday, March 14th at 6:30 p.m., the mayor will give her State of the City address at the new Washington headquarters, with refreshments at 5:30. You look confused.
Yeah.
You probably got the invite from her yesterday, didn't you?
Wait a minute, I don't understand. If we're having the thing at 6:30.
Just come at 5:30.
Oh, okay.
5:30 for the refreshments
All right.
and stay.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I was
And
supposed to
stay
go
as
to the
you
Mad
please.
Greek afterwards, but I was going to be late if I went there.
I should leave with free food, I apologize.
Okay. Who else has something for our Community Date
I
Board?
believe I read one of the ones that you sent out that tomorrow over at
Center of Hope.
Yes, Center of Hope. There's a naloxone training tomorrow at 6 o'clock at the Center of Hope.
Okay.
And if you all want to put on your calendar, March 21st at 3:30 over at the high school, we will be stuffing the Easter eggs.
Who else?
This Saturday, Working People's Day of Action at the State House, for all workers to protect our rights and the rights of people to make a decent living.
Okay. Who else? All right, we will move on now to poll council, and we'll begin with Ms. Heck.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank everybody for coming. We have a couple new people or people that have come back after not being here last time. And that's really all I have.
All righty, thank you. Mr. Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also would like to thank everybody for coming. Have a new face or so out here that I don't see often. And Mr. Quinzel, great job.
A long time ago.
That's all, Mr. President.
Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to see you all tonight. Thanks for coming out, and I have no further comments.
All righty, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also good to see everyone out here this evening. Since we last met, two folks up here on the days got a little bit older. Bob Bailey on the 11th and Dan on the 15th.
I did not get older.
Refuse.
Simply had a birthday.
Say what you will. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
All righty, thank you, sir. Miss Elmore.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize Black History Month. This is the month of February. And would like to take this opportunity to talk about Black History Month and the contributions that African Americans have made in Whitehall, Ohio. History is the study of past events, particularly human affairs, a continuous, typically chronological record of important or public events or of a particular trend or institution. And history is what the general public perceives as the immutable bedrock on which historians and archaeologists stand. History is an account of the past, and so I'll talk about the past a little bit and the future. And in the 1700s, the land was given by the federal government, thank you, to the Canadian refugees who fought for colonies. Subsequently, in the 1820s, the 156-acre tract in the township was transferred by decree by President James Monroe to John Long and transferred their long, calling this parcel Whitehall, as occupied by J.M. Walcott. This was the first reference to this area called Whitehall. The past of Black history in the 1840s, prior to the Civil War era, Truro Township resident John T. Ward, a conductor, established the stop on the Underground Railroad on the National Road, U.S. Route 40, east of what's known now as Hamilton Road, to aid escaped slaves in their travels north. During the war, Ward had transported a lot of government supplies. That's how the Wards got into the moving business. Today, E.E. Ward Moving and Storage is said to be the nation's oldest minority-owned business. It came out of Whitehall. Present Black history. Significant events also took place during 2013, 2015, and 2017. In 2013, Whitehall residents elected to the Whitehall School Board its first African-American, Joy Bivens. In 2015, Whitehall residents elected its first African-American, Michael T. Bivens, to the office of City Attorney. And in 2017, Whitehall residents elected African-American Lori J. Elmore to Whitehall City Council. These are moments in Whitehall's history that I am proud of, and frankly, we should all be proud of. We, Whitehall, are changing the culture and becoming a more inclusive community, the community of citizens that are embracing our multicultural makeup. For that, I am grateful and thankful to the citizens of Whitehall. We are more alike and have more in common than we are different. Thank you.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you. Madison.
Thank you. At work, we have been celebrating all month, Black History Month. I'm in charge of the diversity committee at work, and this weekend, I was with a friend of yours, actually, Mr. Bivens. I was with Commissioner Boyce.
Yeah.
And he is the first black commissioner, and I believe the only, is what he was saying. But he told a wonderful story this weekend of his life growing up. And in our local community, it's not Whitehall, but it's, Columbus. And he was saying that he was raised by his grandmother, and that he remembers playing basketball in high school. And he remembers seeing all of the kids, and they were all getting these really cool tennis shoes. And back then, this was the 80s. They were probably like Air Jordans or something. They were probably like $100, which they're $500 now or something like that. And he told his grandmother he wanted a pair. So she said, "Come on, get in the car." So he thought they were going to the store to get the shoes. He's all excited, he's ready. And he says that they pulled on into Town and Country Shopping Center, first shopping center here. And she took him right on into the grocery store and said, "Manager, this boy here needs a job as a bagger." She said, "You know what? Nothing in life is free. Everything is earned. Be proud that you are a black American." And she said, "And I stress American." And she went ahead and taught him quite the lesson. And to this day, he says that he will never, ever forget that. And I love that story so much that I'm just going to tell that everywhere I go, even though it's not mine. It's a great story.
Good story.
Thank you all for coming, and hope to see you again next time.
All righty, very good. All right, well, I appreciate everyone being here this evening. And I'll throw a little something in here about Black History Month also. It has to do with the organization that I belong to. There was a very famous person in the mid-1800s who was, around 1830, the person was a slave, and then became a free man. His name, I'm pretty sure I know his last name was Douglas, but I can't remember his first name, and I don't want to say James, but I think that's it. No? Anyway, the guy ended up being one of the most respected black people of his time. He also, the Carpenters Union, which was just trying to get started then, we weren't the organization that we are now, but we got involved in the slavery issue. And Mr. Douglas has a quote who said that it wasn't fair for the white man to compete against a group of people who worked for little or no wages at all. And so for the Carpenters, we'd always been active politically. We participated in the Boston Tea Party. The Declaration of Independence was written at a Carpenter's Hall in Philadelphia. And so we got involved in the slavery issue, and it was one of the things that we didn't think was right. And so we helped with that. And I can't believe, I know the guy's name. I throw it out in Vegas all the time because it's part of the information that we give to our members. But the guy was very famous. I Googled him, and the guy has just done all kinds of stuff. He went to, I believe he was a graduate of a college, very well-respected man of his time, and probably one of the most influential black people in the mid-1800s.
Frederick Douglass.
Frederick Douglass.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I wasn't James, because that would be James Douglas, and I knew that wasn't him. But anyway, I was really surprised when I found that out. It's amazing the contributions that black people have made to our country and to our history. And it's a shame that a lot of us don't know some of the things that have happened in the past and some of the things that have helped form our country today. So we have no further official business. So I would therefore take a motion for adjournment at this time.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Move to adjourn. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Mr. Rodriguez for adjournment. Questions or comments? Ms. Rymorth, please call the roll. I knew nobody'd say anything.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Rodriguez. Yes. Melton,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
All righty, we are adjourned, and we will see you all back here in 2 weeks. Thank you.
No, I can't. I can't. I can't.
I started my.
What, Frederick?
Okay?
I didn't catch the time. It was like the 1800s.
In 4 years, I did a dozen times.
That's funny.
I don't get off work until 5:30.
That's great.
By the time it gets home. Plus, we're watching our grandson this week, so.